Right guys, so this video's it's going to be quite easy, to be honest. It's a level system, so we're going to be able to have something at the end of a level that when we collide with it will take us to the next level, and it's as simple as that, really. So to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new scene, because obviously I need another level to show that it's gone to another level. So I will create a new scene, and all I'm going to do to this scene, just so we can see that it's worked, is I'm just going to change the background colour. So I'm going to go with bright red. I'm going to save this scene. I'm going to call it level 1. Maybe go into the scenes view, save it in there. And then I'm going to go into my build settings, and there we go. And if it's not in there already, you can just click add open scenes, and it will open that, and it will put that scene into the scenes to build, because that's going to be quite useful. So essentially, the next bit, we are going to be doing a bit of code. So I was just double checking. Obviously, I've done this beforehand. I've made sure I've deleted everything that needed deleting. So yeah, we save this scene, and then I'm going to go back into the sample scene, because this is obviously where I need to set up the object. So I'm going to right click, and I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put a 2D sprite in. I'm just going to use a square. If you've got something for the end of a level, then obviously you'll use that. I'm just going to set this to red, maybe scale it up a little bit, just so that I can see it when I hit it. I'm going to add a box collider 2D to it, and I'm going to make sure that this is set to being a trigger. Once I've done this, I'm going to do very similar to how we did the hazard beforehand in the last video. I'm going to add a new tag, and I'm going to call this load level. Nice and simple like that. And I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back onto the sprite, and I'm going to make sure that it's set to load level. I'm going to rename the sprite prefab underscore load level, so that I know that in future, and I'm going to make a prefab out of it in a minute. So it's quite simple, this. All we really need is one additional script and to edit the character script. So I'm going to do the additional script first. So if we go to create C# script, and I'm just going to call this load level trigger, because that's what it does, it triggers a load level. I'm going to double click that. Obviously I'm still using Notepad++. If you're not, the code's exactly the same. I just prefer the color scheme and the setup in this. So this is like 4 lines of code in that, if that. So we're going to request a new section of Unity Engine. So using Unity Engine.scene management, which we've done before. And this is obviously because we're switching between scenes. I'm going to delete all of this because I don't need it. Just make sure that you leave the bottom curly brace so that we open and then close the whole script. And I'm going to start with a variable, which is a public int, and this is going to be called level to load. Nice and simple. And all we need is a public function in here. So public void load defined scene. That's what I'm going to call it. That's not something that's in here already. It's just what I want to call it. And then I am going to reference scene manager dot load scene. And then in the brackets, I'm just going to refer to my level to load. And that's all I really need in here. So that's the main bit. So this will be on the load level trigger. So now I'm going to go back into my character movement. And the section we set up for the hazard, which is obviously this bit, the on trigger enter, we're just going to continue using that. So make sure that you are writing this below the end of this if statement, which is obviously that curly brace to that curly brace, but above this one. And it's going to be very similar to what we did before. We're going to basically say if other dot compare tag, and then in brackets I'm going to copy and paste my tag that I copied from when I set it. And then this is where things get a little bit interesting, because it's not a function that's actually in this. So we're going to look for other dot get component. We're going to look for a load level trigger. Make sure this is spelled exactly how it is up here. And then in that, we are going to look for load define scene. I am just going to be a little bit lazy, grab it out of there and put it into here. Just so that I know it's spelled and capitalized in the way it should be. So I'm going to close that with a pair of brackets and end with a semicolon there. And I'm fairly certain that's all we really need to do. So if I save that script, just double check that that script's saved as well. Go back into Unity, attach my load level trigger to this. Oh, there we go. Double check the build settings. So level 1 is obviously the number 1 on mine. It might not be the same for you guys. Just double check that. So that means I want to load up number 1, build ID 1. Obviously, it's just a coincidence that it is in fact level 1. You've got to think, if you had like a couple of menus beforehand, it might not be build ID 1. So that's that setup. Obviously, we don't need to do anything to the player because that's all set up already. So hopefully, let me just double check my tag. My tag's up there. The script's on here. So hopefully, if I've set this up correctly, I can now, in the game, go over to this, hit that, and there we go. We're into the other level. Obviously, if you're building the game and you're working on multiple levels, this would load up the start of your next level. For me, it's just going to load up that red screen because that's how I set it. So nice and simple. Essentially, imagine at the end of a level you have a door that you go through, you get to a flag. That's what this would be. This is a way from getting from one level to another. If you wanted to hit something and then go to a menu to then take you to the next level, this would also work for that. But instead of pushing to the next level, you would push to the menu scene instead. So this is very useful and just kind of works. So that's that video, guys. The next one, I'm just going to do a very quick video on setting up a camera controller. Because a lot of people that I've seen working on projects like this tend to parent the camera to the player, which is all alright and stuff. But there's nicer ways we can do that. And I've seen things where people have used balls like mine. However, when it rolls, the camera will rotate with it. So we're just essentially going to make the camera track the player instead. But yeah, nice and simple. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Cheers.